What if I told you that no matter what you do, you never actually die? Think back to all the situations where you could have died. Maybe you were this close to getting hit by a passing car, or maybe you slipped near the edge of a cliff and somehow grabbed onto something at the last second. And I'm pretty sure you've had moments like that. Actually, tell me yours in the comments. What if, at the moment of death, your consciousness just shifted into another reality, one where you survived? That's the idea behind quantum immortality. And today, we're going to talk about it. But first, we kind of need to understand what quantum physics even is. And trust me, this gets really weird. Classical physics, or Newtonian physics, works perfectly fine for normal everyday things. Like, if you throw a ball into the air with a certain force, you can predict exactly where it'll land. Simple. But once things get really small, that logic completely falls apart. Quantum particles, things like photons, don't behave like normal objects. Sometimes they act like particles, and sometimes they act like waves. And because of that, you can't actually know exactly where a particle is. You can only know the probability of where it might be, which is already completely insane. And honestly, even physicists barely understand this stuff. To understand quantum immortality, we first need to talk about Schrödinger's cat. You've probably heard of it before, but I'll explain it anyway. Imagine a cat locked inside a box. Inside the box there's also a tiny amount of radioactive material, a Geiger counter, a hammer, and a vial of poison. If the radioactive material decays, the Geiger counter detects it, the hammer swings down, the poison breaks. But if it doesn't decay, the cat survives. And here's the weird part. Until we actually open the box, we technically don't know what happened. So according to quantum mechanics, the cat is both alive and dead at the same time. Which, okay, yeah, quantum physics is actually ridiculous. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in something called a superposition, which basically means they exist in multiple possible states at once. Imagine a book lying somewhere in a room. Normally, the book exists in one exact place, but in a quantum system, the book could technically exist everywhere at once. In the corner, near the wall, in the center, every possible position, until someone observes it. Because the moment you observe a quantum system, the superposition collapses, and reality picks one outcome. And this raises a really weird question: what actually counts as an observation? Because in quantum mechanics, simply measuring something changes it. Trying to observe a photon can literally alter its path, which leads to this really strange idea. Maybe reality isn't completely independent from us, and nobody fully understands why this happens. But one interpretation of quantum mechanics tries to explain it: the many worlds interpretation. According to this theory, every possible outcome actually happens. Just.
The superhero?
In different universes. Every quantum event splits reality into multiple branches. In one universe, something happens. In another, it doesn't. And this is where quantum immortality comes in. Imagine an experiment. A person sits in a chair holding a gun. The gun is connected to a quantum event. Every time the trigger is pulled, there's a 50% chance the gun fires, and a 50% chance it doesn't. From our perspective, eventually the person dies, but from their perspective, they never experience death, because their consciousness only continues in the realities where they survive. So from their point of view, they're basically immortal. And according to this theory, the same thing could apply to you. Every time your life is in danger, reality splits. In one version, you die. In another, you survive. And your consciousness continues only in the version where you lived. That's quantum immortality. But obviously, there's a pretty huge problem with this theory. Because if that's true, then how do people die from old age? Eventually your body breaks down. So what happens then? And honestly, the theory doesn't really have a good answer. Some people online think quantum immortality only applies to accidental deaths, not natural ones. So maybe you survive impossible accidents, but still eventually die from aging or disease. Others think your consciousness would eventually shift into a reality where humanity discovers some kind of cure for death. But at that point, we're basically entering sci-fi territory. And just to be clear, please do not try to test this theory. Seriously, nobody knows what actually happens after death. This is all just speculation, really weird speculation, but still, it kinda makes you think, because if quantum immortality is real, then somewhere out there are versions of you that survived things you didn't, and maybe you're already one of them. So yeah, what do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.